Welcome back, everyone. John here. In part 1, we looked at how Dr. Lisa Su saved AMD from bankruptcy and stole market share from Intel, who was a huge company at the time, using their superior engineering. So, as we sit here in 2026, it's logical for investors to ask, can they do it again? This time against Nvidia, of course. Today, we're breaking down the massive 6 gigawatt alliances AMD just signed with OpenAI and Meta, how they're attacking Nvidia software moat, and most importantly, the financial evaluation. Is AMD stock heading to $600 or is it a trap? If we take a look at key metrics of these two great companies, we will see that the obvious difference is in market cap, with AMD sitting at $330 billion, while Nvidia is, of course, the biggest company in the world right now at $4.5 trillion market cap. Nvidia has amazing products, amazing software, and deep pockets. But as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, AMD stock has outperformed Nvidia over the past year. And this, of course, has to do with the crazy margins that Nvidia could command and the market share dynamics. Most of these guys over here, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, Meta, have been paying Nvidia an insane amount of money over the past few years. So much so that before ChatGPT came out in late 2022, Nvidia's market cap was under $400 billion and almost as much as AMD is today. This is an insane growth, and congrats to all investors that believed in that great company and rode the wave all the way to the top. But of course, Nvidia could not remain a monopoly in the AI era, and thus most of these other companies decided to look into alternatives to help them build their data centers and the future of mankind without breaking the bank. Enter AMD, the obvious choice for a competitor. What makes Nvidia's chips so good, apart from their engineering and all that stuff, is something called CUDA. CUDA is a proprietary programming model developed by Nvidia that tells the chip exactly how to move electricity around. This is all a chip actually does. Electricity goes in, turns those zeros into ones, and the computer understands that language and it does stuff for you. So, CUDA is making the chip more efficient and giving programmers a wide array of options. Because millions of engineers and programmers are trained in CUDA, switching to AMD might be difficult. On the other hand, though, AMD has been developing the Radeon Open Compute software since 2016 as an open source alternative to CUDA. They want to give their software away for free and make it open source so that people will choose their technology rather than their competitors over the coming years, and they are making progress on that front. They also use a translator tool to be able to port CUDA code to their own software, though it's still not perfect. They are challenging Nvidia's moat with it. It has seemed obvious to me that AMD would be the runner-up to Nvidia. I have been buying from July 2024 up until the tariff drama, as indicated by the arrows that you see on the screen, before the market actually caught on, and I have made AMD the largest position in my portfolio at about 10%, which might not seem a lot for some of you, but for me, I generally only want to reserve allocations above 5% for proven non-cyclical wide mode companies with diverse income generation streams like Google and Microsoft. But this just goes to show how much I believe in the part this company has to play for the upcoming years with AI and robotics and all those other crazy things that will come to experience in the next few years. Now, to fight Nvidia, you need serious firepower. For AMD, that is a rinsing GPU lineup. While Nvidia dominated the AI training, AMD is expected to carve out a massive chunk of the inference market. Inference, for those of you who don't know, is what happens after the training stage when millions of users actually ask the various LLMs, the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, the Geminis, etc., to a task. It goes without saying that this requires massive memory bandwidth and energy consumption. AMD's MI450 series will be launching with Samsung's next generation HBM4 memory. It is the centerpiece of the new rack scale system called Helios. Apparently, this is a very good product for memory and energy efficiency, and the biggest 10 companies in the world are buying it by the truckload. This brings us to the two most important deals in AMD's modern history, the 6 gigawatt alliances with OpenAI and Meta, so 12 gigawatt in total. To put 6 gigawatts into perspective, that is enough electricity to power 6 million homes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for as long as the data center is turned on, which is scary to say the least. This capacity will be powered primarily by AMD's upcoming Instinct MI450 GPUs, launching in the second half of 2026. These chips are built on TSMC's cutting-edge 2 nanometer chips and use massive pools of memory, making them specifically optimized for the heavy memory demands of running LLMs in the inference stage. These deals are valued at upward of $200 million, which is two-thirds of AMD's current market cap. To convince OpenAI and Meta to spend the time and money required to rewrite all their software for AMD chips, AMD used a brilliant chips for sale structure. AMD issued performance-based stock warrants to both these companies. Each company received the right to purchase up to 160 million AMD shares, which is roughly 10% of AMD's total float each. The catch here is that OpenAI and Meta do not get this equity for free. They need to execute on their promise to buy and deploy the chips. The first batch of share only unlocks after the initial 1 gigawatt of MI450s is physically installed and running. And after that, the most lucrative tranches will be available only if AMD stock price hits aggressive targets, scaling up to 250, 400, and ultimately $600 per share. This protects AMD shareholders from immediate dilution while perfectly aligning the incentives of all parties involved. So, Meta and OpenAI now have a massive financial reason to ensure AMD stock goes to the moon, as we say, but not only that, this will effectively segment their cooperation for years to come in the future. So, with all this hardware and massive partnerships on the horizon, what is the stock actually worth today? AMD currently trades at a forward PE ratio of around 34, which is actually a premium compared to Nvidia's, but nothing crazy for all that future growth. And this is actually why investors pay more for AMD's earnings rather than Nvidia. One company is growing its rate of market share adoption, while the other has its share stolen. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to say that AMD will be worth more than Nvidia or that they will actually surpass them, but analysts are projecting over 70% earnings growth in 2026 alone. Now, finally, let's take a look at some assumptions. For the bear case, everything has to fail. Their new chips are not working as well as they should. They'll raises up from the dead grave and their chips turn out to be better than AMD's, which is unlikely. Then maybe CUDA moat turns out to be unbreakable, or worse, CUDA gets even better and AMD open source software is lagging behind, or it's just not possible to convert all that CUDA code over to ROCm. And finally, maybe the hyperscalers decide they don't want to spend all that money on AI right now for whatever reason. Maybe we have a bad economy, or they want to spread their investments over the years, which I also think is very unlikely. Now, I think if some or all of these things happen, then the stock will go back down to the hundreds, and I think that there is a very low probability for that, less than 5%, maybe closer to 1 or 2%. And for the bull case, AMD executes perfectly and breaks the Nvidia monopoly, triggering a massive explosion in earnings and successfully capturing at least 20% of the market with their new chips. Now, their gross margins expand past 50%, which pushes their earnings per share $25 per share by 2028. If AMD generates $25 in EPS and the market gives them a standard tech growth multiple of just 20 to 24, the stock price mathematically lands between $500 and $600. If OpenAI's Triton and AMD's ROCm software completely democratize AI coding by eroding CUDA's dominance, then the hyperscalers will flood to AMD for better pricing and open source flexibility, making this scenario easily achievable. Personally, I think that the bull case is more probable than the bear case, and I would put it around 8 to 10%, just because a lot of corporations are working together towards making this happen. And if AMD reaches the bull case price, then their market cap would be just under $1 trillion, which is difficult but not insane. We are truly experiencing a great time in economy, and our way of life will change drastically. And these companies over here, AMD, Nvidia, Meta, Google, OpenAI, all of these companies are making this happen. That's all for today. If you liked the video, give it a like. I will be covering more of AMD in the future. As I said, it is my biggest position, and I have high expectations of the company. If you would like to see more videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching. See you next.